Hi, this is Kathie. Thanks for joining me at Craft with Kathie. I'm going to work on a little project today, putting the image of a lotus flower on a canvas pillowcase. And I've actually already done this on the opposite side in a color called Marvelous. And for the flip side, I want to use a color called Current Jam, just as kind of like an accent. I think this is a beautiful transfer. I think the flower is amazing. The lotus flower is associated with survival and resiliency. They're actually living fossils and date back over 145 million years. Their roots are mired in the mud. That's how they grow. And every night the blossom submerges itself and comes up fresh and clean in the morning. In 1954, when the Yangtze River flooded, it didn't recede for 3 years, and all the flowers, all the lotus plants that were growing in the river died because they were their roots were damaged. However, they came back to life and repopulated the river from their seeds. Their seeds can survive thousands of years without water. So they're basically all in all a very amazing plant. I flipped over this transfer. You can see the opposite side. The back of the transfers are sticky. They have an adhesive, and they're reusable for 8 to 12 times with proper care. And proper care is really just basically the cleaning of them, which they're cleaned with water, and we can use, I don't have one out here, I thought I did. We can use a board eraser to clean the backs, or or a disinfecting wipe. And if I was not putting this on canvas, I would actually deliberately lay it on a fuzzing cloth to intentionally put fuzz on it. This is a fuzzing cloth. One side's terry, one side's microfiber, to deliberately diminish the adhesiveness of the back. But being that I'm putting on canvas, or what's equivalent to fabric, I don't want to do that because I want to get a nice snug fit. Isn't this beautiful? Anyway, as I was looking up some information about the lotus flower, I stumbled onto a quote by Goldie Hawn, and I thought, wow, this is pretty amazing. I'm just smoothing the transfer out from the middle out, and I want to make sure that I don't have any air bubbles underneath the silk screen. Our transfers are vinyl and silk screen, and I will apply ink and push it through the silk screen with a little squeegee onto the surface beneath it. This feels pretty smooth to me. We'll see how it goes here. So I'd like to take a moment and read you this quote because it is pretty interesting. And I guess I like learning things every day, right? The lotus is one of the most beautiful flowers, whose petals open one by one, but it will only grow in the mud. In order to grow and gain wisdom, first you must have the mud, the obstacles of life and its suffering. The mud speaks of the common ground that humans share, no matter what our stations in life. Whether we have it all or we have nothing, we are all faced with the same obstacles: sadness, loss, illness, dying, and death. If we are to strive as human beings to gain more wisdom, more kindness, and more compassion, we must have the intention to grow as a lotus and open each petal one by one. So, all I'm going to do is use my ink and a squeegee. I have to be careful when using ink, though, because our ink is permanent, so I want to make sure that I always keep my fingers clean and don't smudge anything or have ink on my fingers and then smudge my surface when I remove the transfer. And I do have an ink mat between the two sides of the pillowcase. I forgot to show that. So I'm just going to apply the ink maybe I'm better off going from the center out. I don't think I've got a real good adhesion here. We'll see how this goes. It's a rather large transfer, and the surface is sucking up some of the ink, which is fine. It's what we wanted to do. I want to make sure I get through the silk screen and don't miss a little piece. I see a little spot that I missed up here. There, got it. And I want to remove any excess and remove any lines. And I keep applying this. Isn't this a beautiful color? I think it'll be a nice contrast to the Marvelous. This is going in our living room, which has draperies that are in Marvelous and a couple other accent pieces with gray walls and a gray sofa. So I thought this would be a nice little pop of color, because everything else is pretty much neutral. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. And if you would be so kind as to sprinkle this video with your friends who might enjoy it, I'd surely appreciate it. Comments and responses are greatly appreciated. They increase my visibility, which is wonderful. And I'd really appreciate if you would take the time to do that. And I think I just stunk my fingers into the ink, didn't I? I have to be careful and wash that off before I try lifting this. Our ink requires being heat set, but there's really no big mystery there. You could use an iron, you could use a heat press. And all you do is put parchment over your over your surface, over the canvas pillowcase, and then iron it at the appropriate temperature for 4 minutes if you're using an iron. Flip it around and use the parchment paper for the back and iron the back for another 4 minutes. If you're using a heat press, you want to go with the temperature specified for the heat press, for the model of heat press that you're using. And I'm using an easy press, which when set to the correct temperature only takes 30 seconds to press it. So it's real easy to do all the way around, either with an iron or with the heat press. It's fine. Okay, I want to make sure that I've got good coverage here all over. I didn't miss any little places of silk screen here, which is what you see through. You're seeing the surface behind it was like the cream of the canvas color. The blue of the transfer is vinyl. Okay, I think I have pretty good coverage. Let me clean my fingers. Like, yes, I usually have baby wipes out here for this. Let me grab one, clean my fingers, and lift this up, and we'll take a look and see what it looks like. I might need to add a little bit more ink if I didn't come through dark enough in areas. So I always like to lift rather slowly to make sure that I have good coverage. Okay, I think I'm all right. Wow, how does that look? Beautiful flower, isn't it? I'm gonna run this over to the sink and rinse off the ink, and then clean it up with a little disinfecting wipe, and when I'm done, put it back. And my backing for storage, I cannot heat set this until the ink is dry, and the ink will be a little sticky for a while. Depends somewhat upon the humidity of where you're at. I usually let things lay out and dry for about a day before I heat set them. Thank you for watching. See you soon.